Alright guys, making a quick video as I drive because I don't have time otherwise to myself. Saw a really good comment on a YouTube video, basically unrelated to what I'll be speaking about, but the comment was basically about how someone learned about economics from playing video games, an MMO like RuneScape or Minecraft, and the analogy is that at first the kids would use a barter system where they would say, you know, 10 wheat for 1 bronze, and they would barter between them like that. And then at some point somebody figured out that in order to get rich, to get whatever they want, they would just farm wheat. So they would just get hundreds and hundreds of wheat plants, and then when those would grow up, they would go ahead and sell them and get whatever they wanted, and the stuff that they wanted was usually much more valuable than the wheat, because wheat you could farm. And that's basically what I wanted to talk about from a real estate perspective. And what people misunderstand about money in general is, well, first of all, they don't really know where money comes from, how it's issued, and how it's destroyed, like where it goes. So basically money, you've probably heard the term that during COVID, you know, 40% or 50% of all the currency in the world was printed. And if you're familiar with economics, you know, that would be alarming, but you would understand what they're saying. And basically what they're saying is that the volume, total number of dollars in existence went up. And how does that happen? It happens through debt, issuance of debt. So basically, the way that money is created is that loans, two parties agree on the terms of a loan, and that money is created on the balance sheet of the two people. One of them, the central bank, typically is the originator of a lot of these loans at first, and then they get down to the regular sized commercial and retail banks. But basically these loans get put into the bank account of people, and then they can take the money in that bank account and spend it on, you know, whatever they desire, what real tangible goods they actually want. But that's basically how the money is created, is two people saying, I owe you this much. So think about it this way. You know, one friend has $100 in his bank account in cash, and the other friend, you know, wants to borrow something from him. Instead of borrowing the 100 cash, he says, I owe you 100. And he takes that note around town, and he gives it to the hardware store guy and says, I'm gonna take all this lumber to you know, do this project. Here's this IOU note. So basically you can take it back to this guy, and he'll give you, like, you give him the IOU note, and he'll give you $100. Until that happens, there's actually $200 of nominal currency in existence. So there's the $100 in the original guy's bank account, and then there's the IOU note. And what people misunderstand when they borrow money is they think, well, I'll say this first of all, you probably don't like banks, just if you're a human being, but you probably don't like them, or you probably like them too much. Even if you dislike them, you probably like them too much for this principle, for this reason. So basically, the first guy who lent his money did not lend his money. He lent his imaginary future earnings, his future money. So what is he going to do with that original 100? You know, he could take that original 100 and do whatever he wants with it in the meantime, because the hardware store guy is not going to come and redeem his token right away. So basically, you've doubled the amount of currency. You didn't double the amount of, you know, cash in the system, but you doubled the amount of nominal currency. And that's, when we talk about COVID, this is essentially what happened. And not to say it's not real money, because it is real money. So the guy who bought the deck, or the wood to build the deck with, that's real money for him. And the guy who issued the IOU, that's also real money, because it's backed by, you know, a person who's going to pay it back. So that's, as crazy as that sounds, this is how our banking system works. And how is money created? Principally, it's created through debt. And the primary debt that it's created through, for the average person at least, is a mortgage. So we've always, we've all heard the term, the largest, purchase you'll ever make is your home. Well, what's the second largest purchase they ever make? A car. Can you afford to buy a car cash? No, you're going to take a loan on it. So how does that work? Basically, the car manufacturer or a third party, doesn't matter, will lend you the money to buy the car. But are they actually paying the money to do that, or are they just sending an IOU note? Basically, that's how it works. They send an IOU note, and the manufacturer or whatever gets the IOU note and says, yeah, okay, I will redeem this at some point in the future. So money is being created every time someone buys a car. And how is the money destroyed? The money is destroyed when the loan is paid back. So when the two people come together and the loan is completely paid back, usually plus interest, the original amount of the loan is destroyed. So in our original example of the wood and building a deck, the friend who borrowed the $100 gave it to the guy at the hardware store, and the guy at the hardware store brought it to the original signer of the debt. When he hands over the $100 and he gets the note back and destroys the note, that $100 of nominal value in the note is destroyed. Now there's only $100 in the system, whereas there were $200 of nominal value in the system. The part of this that I want to emphasize to people is that, or the teaching part of this, is that if the guy takes the $100 and builds a deck that's worth $100, essentially you have created $100 of wealth, right? Because the $100 still exists, just somebody else has it. But now you have $100 and you have a $100 value deck, whereas at the beginning you only had $100. So in that way, banks do provide value in that they can basically arbitrage value or risk assessed value of people or businesses and create value where it wouldn't otherwise be able to exist. So this is why, you probably still like banks too much, even if you dislike them. But they do serve a useful purpose, and that is they are the, like I said, arbiters of value creation. So they get to determine who gets to borrow the money, and thus, hopefully, for the good of society, who's going to actually put that money to good use and create wealth with it, not just squander it. Because if the original guy, and this is important, there's a difference between durable goods and consumable goods. If the borrower had just borrowed the $100 and drank a bunch of beer, and then the beer was consumed, it was gone, wealth was not only destroyed in the process of consuming these things, the person he bought the beer from will pay a large portion of that in taxes, which is always going to be the case. Anyway, the point is, because there's no durable good to back up that expenditure, the society will not become wealthier. And where the durable goods end up and where the money is spent is very important, because in our case in North America, until very, very recently, there was very little scrutiny put on the idea that where the goods are made versus who gets paid for them is inconsequential. As long as you get the stuff, it doesn't really matter. Deficits don't matter. But of course they do. Currency, is imaginary, but it's important. So if we are paying, let's say, a company in China to create the things, and they are putting that money toward buying machinery or upgrading their skills or taking intellectual property and creating products, that's wealth for them. And the products that we consume, the products that we consume but are not durable goods, like iPhones and other things, they're just consumed. They don't produce wealth. They are not wealth. They're going to go away over time. And everything goes away over time. But you understand the principle here. The point of saying all this is China is the one who builds wealth, not the person consuming the thing. They get short-term enjoyment. but no wealth. So something like a house is how money is created. When you build a house, the house stays, and the money you paid for the house stays in the place, hopefully, as long as too large of a portion is not consumed in interest. And mortgages, like I said before, mortgages are the main way that money is created. So just like the example in Minecraft or RuneScape, you know, if wheat becomes the currency, people farm wheat. Money is the currency, obviously, and mortgages are the currency. People will farm mortgages. So if you want to look at who's milking the system, who's figured it out, it's people who put themselves in the corner of real estate and figure out how to take out larger and larger mortgages on properties. They can be the exact same properties. It doesn't have to be new properties, and honestly, this is a fundamental problem. I think we should be building new properties because, again, if you just take a property, transfer it between two people, but you pay more for it, you haven't created any value whatsoever. There's no wealth that's created from transferring one building from one person to another person. If you take that money as a loan and you build something new, then the money still exists, but now there's a building and there's money. Whereas in the first example, money just shuffling, changing hands, it doesn't create any wealth. So let's stop doing that. Let's build some new stuff and let's become a wealthier society. Don't just mindlessly send your money to somebody, you know, even if it's cheaper. It's not long-term. You're not thinking long-term. You should be keeping the money as close to yourself as possible because it's creating wealth near you, which creates wealth for yourself in turn. Hopefully that made some sense, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.